Duel is a 1971 action thriller directed by Steven Spielberg and stars Dennis Weaver. It revolves around a business commuter, Dennis Weaver, who is driving his car through California to meet a client. On his way, he comes across a trucker who seems hell-bent on causing mayhem for the commuter and goes well beyond road rage. Now, you may know Dennis Weaver from different TV shows or movies, but there's a good chance you probably, if you've watched old westerns, know him best as Chester from Gunsmoke. I actually don't ever remember watching an episode with Dennis Weaver. I watched like the episodes later on. Obviously, I watched all the series when it was reruns because I was not alive during the beginning of that era when like the 1950s, I think, is when Gunsmoke started airing. The only thing I know about Chester, his character, is that he had a limp. That's the only thing I know about him. But I really like Dennis Weaver. There's something about him that's very charismatic, and I guess I'm just drawn to that.
He come into the Long Branch, insulted one of the girls. He shot her.
I'm not marshal anymore, Chester. I quit.
That don't matter.
That girl's dead. I can't help her now.
Oh, Mr. Dillon, you can't let him get by with this. You just can't.
Unfortunately, Dennis Weaver passed away at the age of 81 in 2006, but since we're both here, I'm going to suggest that you watch some of his movies and TV shows and learn a bit about maybe the Old West if you want to watch some of the old Gunsmoke episodes. I'm sorry, I kind of went off topic there. We'll get back to what I was talking about. We'll get back to Duel. Thanks for your patience.
And now back to the movie of the week.
Duel was a precursor to Jaws and pretty much launched Spielberg's career. In 1971, the novella appeared in the April issue of Playboy. The author and screenwriter for Duel, Richard Matheson, based this story on an actual road rage incident. Matheson had played a round of golf on November 22, 1963, the exact same day President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. On his car ride home, he was tailgated by a truck driver. So Matheson pitched the ideas to TV producers, but it was never picked up. Matheson then decided to get some inspiration for the open road and took a trip from his home in Ventura, California. He brought a voice recorder and described the desolate landscape of the area, which ended up in the novella. The movie debuted in November of 1971 as ABC's Movie of the Week and proved to be so successful that Steven Spielberg was given the opportunity to shoot additional footage, which was the school bus scene and the railroad crossing scene, in order for it to be able to be released in theaters at feature length.
Mr. Pfeiffer, that guy's stuck too.
Shit. Sorry, mister. I could have swore we were okay.
I told you we were going to get hung up.
How about I give you a hand?
Don't sit on the hood. I told the kids not to get on the hood. Just see if you can bounce it loose and...
Something wrong?
The bastard turned around and came back. Get those kids out of the way.
They're not on the road.
No, hey, please, come on, back in the bus.
Now, there was a casting call for the truck. As for the trucker himself, we basically only see his boots and arms. According to my research, the filmmaker auditioned 7 different styles of semi-trucks and chose a 1955 Peterbilt 281 because he felt like the split windshield and rounded headlights, elongated hood, represented the menacing features of the truck space, which I can see that, I get it. Now, this is a great movie, and while there isn't too much spoken dialogue throughout, it greatly depicts the terror and paranoia of being stalked by an unknown driver. I can't remember when I first watched this movie, but I remember sitting down thinking, okay, this is a 1970s trucker movie. Probably not for me. But I was wrong. It really was for me. Because people can really be more scary than monsters sometimes. And for this to happen, I mean, it's a very realistic story. This guy's just driving, road rage hits, and he's being stalked. Now, I also like Dennis Weaver. I really didn't know too much about him until later on, but looking back, like, he's a really good actor.
Well, it's about time, Charlie. My God.
And while there are no real, like I said, no monsters involved, this is kind of a horror story because you are being stalked, and that's frightening. It's a frightening thought. And you're stuck alone basically in the middle of the desert for the most part. So this is a great movie, even if you're not into 70s movies or truckers movies. It's not all about that. It's really suspenseful. To me, it's a thriller more than horror. And you wouldn't think it would be too entertaining with mostly a guy in his car and this mystery driver in the semi-truck, but it's very entertaining. There's a lot that happens. And I want to tell you something that I thought was pretty interesting. So Duel came out in 1971 and Jaws came out in 1975. And in a documentary or interview, Steven Spielberg did explain that there is a connection between the two. He wanted to pretty much say thank you to everyone who gave him the chance to do Duel because it led him to do bigger and better things. It gave him a chance to do Jaws. And so at the end of this film, at the end of Duel, again, I'm not giving away anything, but I guess I am giving away the ending to Jaws anyway. Here's the clip that Steven Spielberg used at the end of Jaws that was also at the end of this movie, Duel.
I heard it.
There were many scenes where the car and the semi are supposed to be racing each other basically on these cliffs, and while it probably wouldn't be safe to do that anyway, Steven Spielberg mentioned there's no way they could get that truck up to 80 plus miles per hour as is depicted in the film. So he used a little movie magic.
A little trickery on my part.
He would film the semi driving at a regular, reasonable speed, but filmed it at a lower angle, using the camera kind of pointed up. He also used the environment to his advantage. The camera and the truck would be going at the same pace, but he would make sure that there were some cliffs, trees, or rocks or whatever on the other side of the road, so you would see the semi driving at a normal rate and all this other stuff, whatever may be in the background, just kind of fly by or looks like it's speeding by. So that's one trick that he utilized. Although some scenes were just basically sped up on film, they filmed a lot of the action scenes this way. Dennis Weaver did a lot of his own stunts and his own driving, within reason. Sometimes they were like, no, that's too dangerous for you, we'll get a stunt double for that. But in one of the most memorable scenes, Dennis Weaver's character David is standing in a phone booth, which is a place where people would go to use the telephone, kids, and he is nearly run over by the semi. In that scene, that is actually Dennis Weaver. And while it was rehearsed, and I'm sure all safety precautions were taken, that was still pretty dangerous, and you have to commend him for that. And this one shot came out pretty cool. I just wanted to mention it. Dennis Weaver, well, his character, drives off the side of the road, hits kind of an embankment, and gets back on the road trying to avoid the truck driver. And you can see just how almost sideways he really got. And that is just a great clip. I just want to say that looks awesome. So if you have seen it, please leave your opinions in the comments. And if you decide to watch it after this, please come back and let me know what you thought. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye.